Hello there, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to view this video. My name is Stephanie Baskerville. I am the content writer here at ProServeIT, and in today's video, in honor of International Day of Families on May 15th, we're here to highlight the great work that Family Counselling and Support Services for Guelph-Wellington, a nonprofit organization out of Ontario, Canada, is doing for families in their region. So Family Counselling and Support Services for Guelph-Wellington was the winner of ProServeIT's May Share Your Story Challenge. This is a monthly challenge where, kind of as part of our give back culture, we ask nonprofits and registered charities to submit a story to be reviewed by our team so that we can feature them in blogs, social posts, and our monthly newsletters and kind of help them spread the word about their mission. Given that May 15th is, of course, International Day of Families, we did want to ask nonprofits to submit a story about how their mission aligns with helping families. And then, of course, we did get some amazing submissions, but ultimately, our team chose Family Counselling and Support Services for Guelph-Wellington's story as our winner. It was kind of a heartbreaking story, but it's also, indicative of how incredible the work that they do there, with their counseling services. So we wanted to highlight them for sure. So I'm so excited to be able to introduce Joanne Young Evans, Executive Director of Family Counselling and Support Services for Guelph-Wellington, who is joining me on the line today. Joanne, welcome, and so excited to chat with you today.
Oh, good morning, Stephanie. Me too. I was so taken aback when I got your email. And yes, although it was a very traumatic story, it's not a unique story for our organization. And I'm so thankful to you and your organization for highlighting what it is we do here. I'm really excited to be here today and to answer all your questions.
Wonderful. Well, let's jump into those questions.
Okay.
So let's tell me a little bit about sort of Family Counselling and Support Services for Guelph-Wellington. Let's start with that.
Okay. Family Counselling and Support Services for Guelph-Wellington began our journey in 1964, and we began it as a prevention-oriented program of the Children's Aid Society. Now, we've undergone rebranding a couple of times as our programs and services have grown over the past years, and that's happening again this year, and it's so exciting, but that's confidential, and it's not happening till June 1st. So we're one of 51 family service agencies in Ontario. Now, this agency is committed to strengthening individuals, couples, and family life for those dealing with trauma, grief, stress, anxiety, depression, and any type of abuse. We also support people with developmental challenges and those who care for them. Our agency offers the only same-day mental health clinics for those wishing to call, video conference, or speak in person with a counselor in our geographic area. Now, we're also the only not-for-profit provider of customized employee assistance programs in the area. And we're also a registered charity, and you'll find us on Canada Helps. Sorry, I had to have the little cell line in there.
Of course, not a problem there. Absolutely. So the story that you wrote in was very powerful, and it, about a mother and two young boys who had undergone a tragic loss. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that story and how Family Counselling and Support Services for Guelph-Wellington kind of stepped in to help them. So can we kind of go over that? And I know you mentioned before our call here that it's a little emotional, so maybe have some tissues ready, folks. But yeah, it is a powerful story. Let's maybe talk and hear about it.
Well, let me give you a bit of a broad stroke first before we go into that particular story. As I say, it's not a unique one. Over 35% of the people who walk through our doors have had thoughts about suicide, have attempted suicide, or they're actually conducting self-harm. And we're talking pre-COVID. Almost 20% of the women who walk through our doors vocalizing stress, depression, are actually being abused. So in this particular situation, we had this young mom and her two sons, and they were sitting in the reception room, and they were just sitting quietly, and the mom's filling out the paperwork, and they're eventually ushered in to see the therapist, and they just sat there, and the therapist always says, so what brought you in today? What can I help you with? And the mom looked at her and said, I kept my boys home from school today, and I didn't call the school. And the therapist said to the mom, why did you do that? And what's wrong? And then the three of them just burst into tears. And it took them a while to stop. And when they finally had calmed down, the mom said, my eldest came home from school yesterday, went into the basement to turn on the TV and found his father hanging from the rafters.
Oh my goodness. Ooh.
So yes, you can see it doesn't matter how many times I tell that story. I begin to choke out. It's a tough story to tell.
Very, very.
Yeah, it's tough. In this situation, the therapist had to connect not only with them, and we worked for weeks with this family. We have therapists who specialized in dealing with children. We dealt with the mom. So they were with us for a very long time. But that very first day ended up causing a cascade of actions. And what ended up happening was we had to call a biohazard company, because we needed to get somebody in there to clean the home. We needed to get a hold of the school and school board. We got a hold of their church. We got a hold of the people in the medical community that could help the family. So there was a lot of work, and also I think I said their church. So there was a lot of things that had to happen around that particular story in order to help this family. And by the time we were finished doing what we could do within our agency, then we ended up handing it off to other agencies in the community that could give them even more support than what we could do currently. And I mean, we'll do that. If someone comes through our doors who is not within our scope of practice, we will do warm handoffs to other agencies within the community. We would never turn anyone away without making sure that they have support for the particular issue that they're dealing with. So,
oh wow, that's like I said, that's such a powerful story. And you know, I mean, but I want to highlight, like, so in that story you mentioned a couple different ways that family counseling and support services for Guelph-Wellington did help and did step in and did, you know, make those connections. So can we talk a little bit about the various services that you offer families then? Like, let's kind of expand on those.
Sure. We're one of 51 family service agencies in Ontario. We offer a myriad services, from trauma, abuse with children, adults who've experienced abuse as children, and now are experiencing particular issues as adults, depression, anxiety, stress. We have violence against women programming, emotional regulation for men. I mean, we work with couples, families, individuals, no matter what religion, what gender. We are all inclusive. We will see anybody who comes through our doors. I mean, we work with families where there's developmental challenges, so that the family can have as much assistance as possible, and the individual with the developmental challenge can live as independently as possible. But we offer art therapy, various modalities of therapy. Let's take depression, for example. So there are a dozen different modalities that you could use to treat depression. Cognitive behavioral therapy, there's EMDR, there's a number of them. And our social workers and therapists work in a particular way. They will talk to you. They will get where you're coming from, what you're prepared to do, and they will pick and choose from one modality or a number of modalities in order to get you to where you need to be. Some people, it's one session. Some people, it's 10 or 12 sessions. The average is 4 to 6 sessions to help someone get through their particular issue. We're very client-centered. We even offer a phone in and a phone out service to help people with wellness checks, crisis calls. It operates 7 days a week, is totally funded by donations and by the United Way. And this year, in fact, we did 15,000 calls.
Wow.
And I'm going to say part of that was COVID related. And we literally saved lives. People called in prepared to die by suicide. They couldn't handle it anymore. They were isolated. They were alone. And our trained volunteers they're just amazing. We have over 100 volunteers, and they've actually helped people get through this. In fact, I have one story. We had an elderly person call in, and they wanted to sign up for our teleconnect program. And that's where we'll call in and we'll check on you 2 or 3 times a day. Have you taken your meds? You know, how you doing today? And so this person had called in, and while they were calling in, the person had a hard time breathing.
Oh.
And so they couldn't catch their breath. The volunteer knew something was wrong. So they took their personal cell phone, they called 911, they kept them on the line. And so they've got the client here, they've got 911 on this side.
Wow.
And then 911 arrived, the paramedics came in and were able to assist the person. And that person is one of our Teleconnect clients today.
Oh, wow.
So it's, those are the kinds of stories. I know the lives that we're saving. I know the people that we're helping. And we offer more services than what we have time to talk about today, but those are just some of the ones that you'll find.
That's amazing. And from a personal perspective too, like, so my story is all about mental health and wellness as well. I suffered from depression for 24 years, and now I'm battling anxiety, and, you know, I totally understand it. It's amazing to hear all the great work that you're doing, especially from my perspective as a mental health advocate. You know, it's one of the reasons why I was definitely attracted to the story that you wrote into us about. Very exciting, and I love to hear this. Oh, I think we just lost your video there.
Oh, what happened? What happened?
That's okay. I don't know, but we lost your video. That's okay. We can cut this.
I'm back.
Perfect.
I'm
There
back.
we go.
There we go. Okay.
We can cut that part out. Don't worry.
Okay.
No worries there.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah, so I mean, it's just an amazing. It's amazing to hear that, you know, about the telewellness and these kind of things that you're doing for the community. It's wonderful to hear that. Definitely.
And Stephanie, if I can interrupt, I got to
Yeah.
say thank you very much for talking about your particular challenges. And I mean, I think if there's one positive that we can say that's come out of COVID, is people realize that we're all suffering mentally, and they're much more willing to talk about it. And when this is finally over, whatever that looks like, I think that talking about mental health is going to be much easier for people. It's going to be much easier for people to reach out. And, you know, we talk about this third wave here in Ontario. And I think the third wave actually started with mental health, and with the issues we've been dealing with, and the increased complexity, the increased levels of family and domestic abuse, it's just skyrocketing. So the work that we do and our sister agencies do is more important than ever.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. And yeah, for me, I mean, I've always been pretty open about my mental health struggles. I think that you have to be open to be able to have these kind of conversations and let people know that they're not alone out there in their struggles, and that, you know, there are people willing to talk about it. And, you know, when I was growing up, sorry, I'm going to do a bit of a tangent here. When I was growing up, we didn't talk about it at all. It was, you know, like, I wasn't even allowed to really say anything to my family members. It was like, oh no, Steph, if anybody asks anything, everything's fine. You don't say, you know, and like that, you know, now that I can see where we've come, you know, with organizations like yours, and with, you know, with initiatives like Bell Let's Talk, and, you know, all these kind of amazing things that are happening. The conversation about mental health is just, it's so important to everybody. And now I love that I'm seeing, I mean, I hate that we have to have these conversations, but I love the fact that they're being had, and they're being had a lot more openly. But that's going to sort of segue us. I talked a little bit about me in this. I didn't mean to, but I do want to talk about you and sort of how you kind of got into this, and your particular journey in finding your way to family counseling and support services for Guelph-Wellington. So let's chat about you, Joanne.
Well, as I stare at the ceiling, I have been working for more decades than I'm going to care to admit. And most of those decades have been related to healthcare in some form or another. I mean, public health, nursing, independent living, and more. I mean, I volunteered over a 10-year period in Africa, doing work over there, both municipally, with women's groups, those kinds of things. I had an absolutely incredible time with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and I was very fortunate to be over there for quite a while.
Oh, wow.
And I've been an executive director for more than 2 of those decades. And FCS SGW attracted me, I think, because of the mental health and the social services aspects. There are things here that I've never dealt with before. And frankly, my mother attempted suicide several times. And actually, the last time she almost succeeded. And no, you didn't talk about it. And I'm older than you. And you didn't talk about going in the hospital. You didn't talk about the restraints. You didn't talk about the drugs. You didn't talk about those kinds of things because that was verboten. So it's I'm now in an area where it's a welcome conversation. We're helping one person at a time. I know that our reception sometimes gets frustrated. We have amazing people who work for reception, but they get frustrated when they see so many people, and sometimes we're so full, we have to ask people to come back. And I have to constantly remind them that every person we help means something, and we will eventually get to that next person. There's always enough. And I have my puppy here with me. Sorry.
That's okay. No worries.
Oh my goodness. And the other reason I joined FCSSGW is because they were looking to grow, they were looking to change, they were looking to do more things than they were doing. And that's one of my areas of expertise. I get bored if we're just in maintenance mode. So, and as my staff my staff heard me say that, they'd go, yeah, she's never in maintenance mode. So we're always after new programming and doing a much better job and a much bigger and more inclusive job as much as possible that fits within our scope. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I'm going to give her another dog bone. She's going to have had so many bones. She's here for my mental health. So
well, there we go. There we go.
She's 6 months old, so we're not, she doesn't lie down all that well.
Fair enough. That's okay. So I understand that the Family Counseling and Support Services for Guelph-Wellington has won some awards and honors over the past years. Did you want to share a few of those?
Oh, yes. How exciting. In fact, we won an award from the Ministry of the Attorney General, which here in Ontario is one of our many ministries, and for our victim and services work that we do. And we developed a program that is unique, not only in Ontario, but is unique in Canada. And I've actually spoken about this program at several conferences across this country. And it's called Breaking Free. And it's a program that is geared towards youth 12 to 17 that have either been exposed to abuse or have been abused. And thus they're making really poor life choices. It's not a ministry funded program, but our school boards love it because what it's doing is creating really strong peer groups. They've never had strong role models, and the program is just second to none. It changes the trajectory for most of these youth and is so unique. And we have principals who just espouse the program. They just think it's the best. So we were really proud to win an award for that. We've also won several awards for our intern program. So Masters of Social Work and other psychotherapy master's programs require that they do an intern placement. So we have our interns do a lot of our walk-in work. Otherwise, we'd never be able to afford to do it. And we're talking about students who are preparing to graduate. So they're at the end of the program. They're amazing students. And we've actually fired students. So our standards are very high. We have incredible supervision. They're taught proper documentation. If you have to call because you're calling because you're hearing about possible child abuse, so then the calls have to be sent over to FNCS. So we've won many awards for our supervision, we have dozens and dozens every year, and for the quality of supervision and quality of training that we do here at FNCS. And we've also won a number of financial awards. People look to us and they go, well, you don't get all the funding that you need, and so we can offer more programming, expand our program, get innovative. We just won 100 Women Who Care from rural Wellington here in the Guelph-Wellington area. And we won $10,000. And that's actually going to allow us to start a special LGBTQ plus walk-in and hotline, because the resources for LGBTQ in our rural community are next to none. It's very embarrassing, and they need help. And we have a higher than provincial average suicide rate, and it encompasses a number of types of individuals, but for the LGBTQ, there's just not that support. So we're going to be starting a new program, and we're launching it with this $10,000, and we're hoping to get even more donations for that particular program, so we can just blow it out of the water and give our youth all the support that they need. So
amazing. Yeah. Amazing. That's wonderful. I love hearing about these awards that you're doing. I mean, I think that they're, you know, from what I've read about you and what I've seen about you, it's warranted for sure. These awards are warranted for sure. So, I think that you know, we're going to wrap it up for today. And Joanne, I do appreciate your time and you know, sharing these stories and sharing your comments with me today. You know, and folks, you know, we will be putting this into a blog and into our newsletters. So if you'd like to sign up for those, you can definitely go to our website www.proserveit.com. Sign up for our newsletters. You'll be able to read this interview and check out the blog. And if you're already on the blog and checking out this video, then by all means continue reading, and you'll be able to see where you can connect with family counseling and support services for Guelph-Wellington. You know, if you're interested in learning more about them, or if you would like to assist them, or in any way, you know, just get connected with them, you can definitely do that. We'll have their social posts as well, and all that available to you. So thank you so much, Joanne. Appreciate your time today, and thanks everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video.
Thanks everyone, and thanks so much, Stephanie.
Of course.